Okay, I think I'm gonna start. So tonight I'd like to briefly talk a little bit about lupus, um, or more technically called systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE. The word lupus is Latin for fox. I don't know why fox is associated with lupus. Not sure, but that's what the word means. SLE, or lupus as it is more commonly known, affects over 1 million individuals in the United States. It is seen mostly in females. Um, there's a ratio of 10 females to 1 male that will come down with this condition. It is considered a chronic autoimmune disorder. The body produces antibodies that causes immune complexes to accumulate in the body and ultimately start to fight the one's body as if it's foreign. Okay? Now, there are several risk factors, of which three are very important, and they are genetics, hormones, and the environment. Genetics, there's a HLA complex that is associated with lupus and makes one more susceptible or predisposed to lupus. Hormones, as I said before, they are autoantibodies and anti-nuclear antibodies, to be more specific. That's the culprit that attacks the person's system. Environment is another problem that predisposes one to develop lupus. Ultraviolet exposure and so on, just to name one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different symptoms or signs that are exhibited when one has lupus. One of the most classic symptom is a malar rash, also called a butterfly rash. And this appears on the face. And there are other rashes that may develop. So let's talk about the different symptoms that are associated mostly with the skin, joint, and organs. So for the skin, rashes, red rashes, discoid rash, alopecia or loss of hair develops. Some individuals are become photosensitive, so they can't they can stand the sun. Some individuals develop ulceration in the mouth and the nostril. So those are the main skin type of symptoms. Now let's talk about the joints. Lupus sometimes mimic other diseases or other arthritic diseases, so it's sometimes hard to diagnose. Polyarthritis is one of the symptoms. So with lupus, two or more joints will be affected. And lupus is a symmetrical condition, meaning that you'll have it on either both wrists or, both sides. It's not like a few weeks ago we talked about osteoarthritis that we said that was asymmetrical and could only be on one side. Okay, so back to the joint symptoms. We have inflammatory conditions, redness, swollenness, and stiffness and tenderness of the joint. And sometimes there's joint effusion. So those are classic symptoms that are seen with the joint. Very painful um, joints are usually seen. Now let's take a look at the organs. Lupus erythematosus is a systemic condition, so it can affect all the organs of the body. There is usually endocarditis or pericarditis. That's a type of condition that is developed from patients by patients who have lupus. So the lining around the heart, the outer lining is inflamed. So there you have pericarditis, and then endocarditis is the inner lining. Pleuritis can also develop, and that's inflammation of the linings of the lungs. Cerebritis is another condition, and cerebritis is inflammation of the cerebrum. And usually some patients with lupus experience memory loss and are forgetful and have, brain issues. One of the classic conditions in lupus is nephritis. So, inflammation of the nephrons in the kidney, and hence a lot of patients with lupus experience renal failure. They also can develop peripheral neuropathy. There's usually tingling and numbness in the extremities. Okay, so those are just a few. Also the eyes. The eyes, not just the outer part of the eyes, the skin part of the eyes, but the actual eyes. Patients develop problems with their eyes, and that's one of the symptoms. Okay. Now in general, systemic symptoms includes tiresome feeling. The patient has fatigue, is usually short of breath. There may be weight loss. Anemia could also be experienced. There is low white blood cells and red blood cells. And also thrombocytopenia or low platelet counts is another symptom patients suffering from lupus has. There is severe headaches, very bad headaches. There is proteinuria. So a lot of protein is found in the urine. And then again, because most patients with lupus have nephritis, then that's one of the reasons that protein is found in the urine, because the kidney is not filtering the blood properly. So you find a large amount of protein. Patients that have lupus, as I said before, are usually women, and usually women of childbearing age. And so if they become pregnancy, usually they have loss of pregnancy. Okay, so those are most of the symptoms, telltale symptoms. Now I'm gonna shift to the diagnostic tests that are usually done. And as I said before, lupus mimics a lot of other arthritic conditions, and so it's very hard to diagnose. There are 11 criteria, of which a patient must exhibit at least 4 for them to be diagnosed as having lupus. Now, some of the laboratory tests that are done are ANA. Usually there's a positive ANA and a very high titer when they titer. Anti-Smith is positive. Anti-double-stranded DNA, that's another test that is done. There's usually false positive RPR because there is an enzyme that is produced um, with patients who have lupus that mimics syphilis. So those patients will come up with false positive RPRs or any kind of tests for syphilis. Again, when their WBC and RBC counts are done, it is usually low, and most of the times platelet is low. Now, the specialist or doctor that takes care of patients with lupus is a rheumatologist. And so, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, yes, lupus is considered a type of arthritis. So this is the same doctor that patients with rheumatoid arthritis and other conditions. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Mr. Rowan too. You know. Oh, Yama be there. Yama be there is really gonna be there. He comes when we're 2 minutes in. Hi, Yama be there. Mhm. Carla, that's my son. Yama be there is my son. Mhm. Yama be there. I have Carla. That's Rowan's baby's mom. Is on there. Empress T was here, but she left. She's gone. So, hello, hello. All right. It's 9 o'clock. So, unless you guys have something to say, you have anything to say? Yama be there. I talked about lupus. You have any input about lupus? There's gonna be a video. I started it this evening, but I couldn't finish it. So I'm gonna put that up. Johan is here trying to talk to you still. Oh, hi, Johan. Hi, sweetie. You're up late, Johan. And how about Brand Muffin? If I'm not well versed in the topic. Okay. All right. I understand. Anyhow, you should watch the video then. Okay. Okay, I understand. I'll check it out, yes. The video will be more in depth than my little overview I gave here. Um, okay, so all right, guys, good night. Thanks for coming. Next week's same time, same place, or if you guys not busy and you want to join in on Tuesday when I do my other channel, that would be great. On Tuesday, I'll do the other something from one of the other two channels. I'm not sure yet. Rather than do it 3 times, I think I'm just gonna stick to 2 times a week. All right, so good night. Love you all.